Welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. These are the weeks that are and shall be. A little bit of writing news. Actually, it's a little something different from the Edan series. I took a small break from the prequel that I'm writing to the Edan trilogy to write an article for Grimdark magazine. I'm excited about it. I finished the article and submitted the article, and it won't be coming out until probably, I think, the October issue or so. But it was something that I had a lot of fun doing, and I'll talk more about it when we get closer to its inclusion in, I think, the October issue of Grimdark magazine. And on the channel, I've been pretty busy and having a lot of fun. I had 2 episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy, one with Christopher Rocchio, the author of the Sun Eater series. Had a really great discussion with Christopher Rocchio. He's a writer with a lot of depth, and I think that came out in the conversation as well. Just a pleasure to talk to him. He's someone whose books I have been enjoying tremendously, so it really was a privilege to talk with Christopher Rocchio. I've been doing this series of discussions on the Sun Eater books, and the 5th one actually is going to be coming up pretty soon. More on that later. But yeah, it was just a real fun time and a pleasure and a privilege to talk with Christopher Rocchio one-on-one. And I do hope that I will be chatting with him again, particularly as we get to the end of our Sun Eater discussion series. The other episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy was with the author Ryan Cahill, another author whose books I've enjoyed tremendously, author of The Bound and the Broken. Obviously, he's been making great strides and making a great splash in the fantasy world here, because his books are going on from triumph to triumph. He's recently become a sort of, not, I mean, we had a conversation about this, but he's not really, I don't think of him as he's a hybrid author, I guess, not traditionally published, not just self-published anymore, because he's working with the Broken Binding. But that's a really special relationship, I think, that he has with them. And I hope that, I wish him and the Broken Binding well, obviously, because they're all doing some really wonderful things. But yeah, Ryan is a great talker as well. I love having chats with him because he is really good at telling stories, obviously, but he's a good interview as well. He has a lot of honesty in his writing and his emotional storytelling as well. You can see the passion there as he talks about his journey as an author. He really loves what he's doing, and it shows. So yeah, and then also had a great chat with my friend Brian from the wonderful channel BellTube. And this discussion was about Bellworks Audio, the audiobook company that Brian is getting started. And I'm very excited for him and for what's to come. I think that he is the ideal person for this adventure. He has the people skills. He is extremely knowledgeable about audiobooks and about fantasy and lit RPG like no one else I know. And he has the passion. And I think he's going to make something really great. And he is committing to no AI. This is going to be a very human-focused company where he's going to find the right narrators for the right books. And I think he's going to do a great job. And I'm very proud to say that one of the books he's going to be producing is While Darkness Gathers, my standalone sequel to the Edan trilogy. So, of course, he'll be working with Alan Walker, the narrator of the Edan trilogy, which is complete on audiobook, by the way. And I think Alan has done a tremendous job, so I'm very pleased that he'll be working with Brian to produce While Darkness Gathers. So that should be happening in the summer months, late summer, and probably it'll be out, and I'm guessing around October. So yeah, October will be an interesting month, I'm sure. And what else have I been doing here? Well, of course, I had my discussion on sailing to Serantium with Evan, and Evan and I are doing our big GGGKR, our great guy, Gabriel K. Reed. And yeah, it's just such a pleasure to be chatting with Evan, whose channel is just amazing. If you've never watched any videos from The Nerd Writer, check it out, because he has these little 8-minute long videos that somehow have so much depth to them and insights, and on a variety of topics. But I think what fascinates Evan most is storytelling and how it works. And he's really good at digging into the nuts and bolts of it in a way that I find just so fun and compelling. But yeah, we had our discussion along with Alan on Sailing to Sarantium, and we were going to have Kyle as well, but unfortunately Kyle fell ill shortly before our recording time. So we do hope that though he'll be with us for the next discussion, because Sailing to Sarantium is part 1 of the duology by Guy Gavriel Kay, and that is the Sarantine Mosaic. And more on that in a moment. We'll be talking about Lord of Emperors shortly. And let's see, I had continuing my discussion series with indie authors. I had a couple great discussions. One was with the author Von Roycroft on whether or not fantasy needs magic. Do you need magic for it to be fantasy? And that turned into a really, I think, wide-ranging, but also at moments beautiful discussion. Von had a wonderful story that he shared with me near the end of that discussion that actually had me in tears. So it was a really great chat with Von, and I love his Sundered Nation trilogy. I've completed it, finished Destiny's Doom relatively recently, loved it. Just some great character work, wonderful depth. If you want to look at a tragic character handled really beautifully in a fantasy setting, Goths meet Romans, inspired fantasy, historical fantasy setting, yeah, just check out the Sundered Nation trilogy, which begins with The Severing Sun. And my other one I had was with my friend Erik Goodwyn, Dr. Erik Goodwyn, a psychiatrist who also is a fantasy writer. And he had some wonderful insights. Appropriately, we discussed mental health and fantasy. And of course, being a psychiatrist, he has some excellent insights into all of that. And a writer as well. The King of the Forgotten Darkness is a wonderful book that I also recently finished. And I have to say, it does show his expertise in matters like PTSD, for example. You know, his main character is struggling with PTSD, and the way Erik handles that is with great care and respect and a lot of knowledge, and it shows in his storytelling. So we had a great time chatting about mental health and fantasy, and that also did touch on a lot of other books as well. And I'm pleased again with how this series is doing. We talk about lots of fantasy in the course of this, but it also serves to highlight some of these indie books that people may not know about yet. And I think it's part of the mission of my channel these days really is to do that, is to shed a light on some of the indie books that I feel are deserving and aren't talked about as much because they don't have the big publishers behind them. And they're just as good as these traditionally published books, and sometimes even better, honestly. So I'm trying my best to help spread the word with these discussions that hopefully are interesting in a broader sense as well for you guys. So yeah, and then I had a discussion on Kingdoms of Death with Jenny Wirtz and John and Jacob from Talking Story and Dylan from Spaced Out Reads. This is the discussion series that I've been having, and love it. Kingdoms of Death being book 4 of the Sun Eater series. That one was, I think it's pushing for perhaps, I mean, it's a tough one for me between that and Howling Dark so far in terms of which one I love the most. But I've loved them all, frankly. I'm actually pleasantly shocked at how much I'm loving the Sun Eater series. It's been a real highlight of my year, along with the Guy Gavriel Kay books that I've been reading and the Tad Williams books I've been reading. These 3 things have been really tremendous fun for me. But yes, so that was a great discussion, and I think we covered the Kingdoms of Death really well. That was a tough book in many ways, in the sense of emotional damage. But I found the ending to be so beautiful. So if you haven't checked out our discussion and you've read that book, you might want to go ahead and do that. So yes, and then I also had my Wano Act 3 live stream for One Piece, and I had a guest, a wonderful friend, helping me with that, and I'm so grateful to Jonathan from JP Laugh Tales. Thank you, Jonathan. And also to the excellent people who helped me by being moderators in the live stream. You guys were really wonderful, and that went so well, better than I actually expected. I had a great time interacting with Jonathan and with the people in the chat. Got a lot of wisdom from the people in the chat. Got corrected on a couple important things by people in the chat, which I'm very grateful for, actually. And I felt it was a good discussion. And I want to continue with my One Piece journey in this manner. And I am looking forward to doing that with the next big arc, Egghead, which I'll be talking about in a moment. That's what I've been up to on the channel. Also elsewhere, I participated in a discussion of the Forever War. This was a Quiluminati read. It was hosted by Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews. And it was a lot of fun. I actually enjoyed, this is a kind of, I guess it's old enough, 1970s. Is that classic at this point? If so, I guess I'm a classic too. Forever War, you can see how important it is as a sci-fi book. And I'm sure that a lot of the sci-fi writers who are engaging with sci-fi stories today are actually very much inspired by this writer. The style back then was a little more spare. There wasn't as much interest in character development, and that does show in the Forever War. But a lot of the concepts are really cool. And you can see where the Vietnam War influence is a big factor in that storytelling as well, although it's futuristic. But you can see that the author's lived experience plays a big role in how that story plays out. It was a great read that I'm happy I did, and I had a great time with my buddies Mike and Brian and John, my fellow Quiluminati. And I participated in the second Apocalypse tag. This was something I did over at Four Corners of the Page with David, of course, and Joanna and Sam from iSamwise were also participating in this discussion. That was a really great chat, actually. Therapeutic for me because I admire Baker's writing so much. Baker being the author of the second Apocalypse series, just a prodigiously talented author. But it is really bleak stuff at the same time. And that was a harrowing experience reading the second Apocalypse series for me. But so glad I did, because it is just brilliant writing. It had me so engaged, and it had me thinking so much. And I'm grateful to Baker for all the thoughts he provoked in me and the wrestling that I did. It was a really insightful conversation over there at Four Corners of the Page. And I was in another really fun chat on Michael Vadney's channel, Author Adjacent. This was on writing a series. And so it included Michael, who's embarking on his own series, but also Nicholas Fuller and Scott Love, two other authors that had some great insights to share. And I was very happy to be participating in that. I had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs in that one too. Great discussion. So if you're interested in how authors go about that, or if you're an author going about writing a series, you might want to check that out over at Author Adjacent. And I was in a discussion of The Spear Cuts Through Water. This was a book that I was very much looking forward to, having been impressed by the first book that the author had come up with. And of course, I'm going to forget the title of that. The Vanished Birds. The Vanished Birds. That was a book that impressed me. I thought it had some obvious seams in it and a bit of clunkiness here and there. But overall, I loved the risks that the author took. And so I was excited to read The Spear Cuts Through Water. And it did not disappoint. I actually enjoyed The Spear Cuts Through Water even more. I had a great time talking about it with, of course, Evie was in that discussion, but it was hosted by Anita Gade, and Kim also was a member of that discussion. And we had a great time, lots of insights there. And it was a very moving book in some ways. I thought it was a fantastic read. I'm glad that I read The Spear Cuts Through Water. Now, what am I doing? Of course, I got to continue with One Piece. I mentioned earlier, there's Egghead, which I am embarking on this week, and I'm incredibly excited. I don't have a lot of thoughts yet, but I'm sure the thoughts will be coming as I proceed through Egghead, and I'm hoping to go relatively quickly, for me anyway, because I'm reading so many other things. I can't completely devote myself just to One Piece, even though it is my happy place. But I do love going there, and I hope that within a few weeks I'll be done with Egghead and be setting up my next discussion. Be on the lookout for that. On audiobook, of course, I have been continuing Sun Eater. That is very happy, by the way, with my decision to, and it was kind of spur of the moment, really. It was really actually a sale on Audible for the Sun Eater books. I got them for next to nothing. And so I thought, okay, I guess I'm going to audiobook the series. And I was a little trepidatious about it because I wasn't sure if I would be able to absorb the books, because I was anticipating there would be some complexity to them, but it hasn't been an issue at all. I'm really happy to say. And Samuel Rukin has been just tremendous. I've really enjoyed his narration. He is the voice of Hadrian for me. But yes, Ashes of Man, I did finish that already by audiobook, and I decided to just go ahead and listen to The Dregs of Empire. It's one of those novellas you don't have to necessarily read, but I think it's really helpful. I'm glad I've been, this is the third of the novellas that I've listened to, in addition to the main books in the series. And in case of Dregs of Empire, it concerns a character that I like very much, one of my favorite characters actually in the series. I don't want to say too much because it might be spoilery for people, but I don't think it's really spoilery, but just in case, I won't say who it is, but I do love the character, and it is a tangent perhaps, but it's one that is very dear to me, and so I'm enjoying that a lot. But of course, the main thing will be discussing Ashes of Man with Jenny Wirtz and John and Jacob and Dylan, and that's going to be happening on the 17th, this coming Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the 17th. So if you've been following along, we'd love to have you there for the live stream. And I will be having a discussion on Black Sun. This is a book that I actually have the physical for, but because I was running out of time, I'm in too many buddy reads, I decided, you know what, I'm going to audiobook this. So I listened to Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, finished it just yesterday. And actually, this one really grew on me in the course of listening to the story. And I was to the point where I had some tears at the end of it. There's one particular storyline in here with two characters who form a relationship over the course of the story that I found very moving. I can't wait to talk about this one with John from Talking Story and with Josh from Red Fury Books. And I'll be hosting that discussion. And this is a trilogy. This is the first book in, where is it? Between Earth and Sky, I think. It doesn't say anywhere here. I think it's Between Earth and Sky is the name of the trilogy. And I'm excited to continue with this trilogy because this deeply impressed me. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. It's some pretty brutal storytelling at times, though. I do want to prepare you for that. It's not all sunshine and roses. There's some beauty in it, too. But yeah, there's some real brutal stuff that happens in there. But I'm excited to talk about it. If the trilogy continues to be as good as Black Sun, then I could see it making its way into some of my favorite trilogies of all time, for sure. That's a video I have never made. Probably, I don't know if I have the guts to make it, but maybe I will. My favorite top 10 trilogies or something like that. Maybe I'll do that. But I definitely want to finish this one before I do that, though. So yes, what else am I doing here physically? Finished reading the Gormenghast being the second of the Gormenghast books, the Titus Groan books. I don't know what to call them, but I have the trilogy here. I realized that there's a fourth one that Mervyn Peake's wife, I think, wrote. He had begun it or something like that, but I'm calling it a trilogy. Maybe this will make its way onto my favorite trilogies of all time video too, because I really actually loved Gormenghast, the second book. I found Titus Groan, the first one, to be interesting and very quirky, eccentric, but at times it was a challenge, I will admit. It was a very slow read, not a lot happens. It's a lot of atmosphere, a lot of description, and frankly, Mervyn Peake is great enough of a writer for that sort of thing to interest me most of the time. But Gormenghast actually became even more. It still has a lot of that, a lot of the atmosphere and description and whatnot. But at the same time, I found myself reading a little bit faster this time. More happens, I think, in Gormenghast than in Titus Groan. So yeah, I had a great time with that, and I'll be talking about it with Jay from A Contemplative Reader over at his channel. And so I'll be shouting about that. So if you've been waiting for us, it's been a while since we read Titus Groan and discussed it, but we are going to finish. They're not quick reads, I will say that. So we've been taking our time on it, but we are ready to roll here and discuss Gormenghast over at Jay's channel. And next, let's see. Oh, I forgot to mention too, for the audiobooks, I'm probably after I finish with Dregs of Empire, I will be doing one of three. I haven't decided yet, but I have quite a few now waiting for me. And I've been listening to the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. I've only discussed the first one with people, but I'm actually on book 4 now because I couldn't resist listening to 2 and 3. I had a lot of fun with those. And I'm also on Dresden Files number 10. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the one that really gets me going. But I'm audiobooking the rest of the Dresden Files. And then a Hybrid Helix series by Joe, my friend Joe, JCM Byrne. That's another one I've been having a lot of fun with. So all 3 of those are wonderful audiobook experiences because all 3 are great examples of authors with great senses of humor. And all 3 of them have been fun. So yeah, those are fun listens for me, and I'll probably do one of those 3. I haven't decided which, but I've got Hybrid Helix 4 coming up. Maybe I'll do that. But we'll see. And I will be discussing, actually had a great chat, by the way, on Hybrid Helix number 3 over at my friend Jared's channel, The Fantasy Thinker. So if you haven't seen that, I did put out an announcement about that a while back, but I had a great time chatting about it. And I do recommend that you check out the Hybrid Helix series, which begins with Wistful Ascending. So yeah, and back to the physical books. I talked about Gormenghast, Lord of Emperors. This is actually the book that I'm reading right now. I'm almost halfway through, and this is, of course, part 2 of the Sarentine Mosaic, and I am in love with Guy Gavriel Kay's writing. He can almost do no wrong. But yeah, I'm having a great time. He's just such a talented writer, and there's so much beauty in his stories that his dedication to art and creativity is just so compelling for me. And I have the discussion lined up. We'll be chatting about Lord of Emperors. Again, that's going to be with Evan and Alan and Kyle. So yes, that should be out actually next week. So yeah, Lord of Emperors. I'm excited to chat about it with these fellow journeyers. And another one that I will be picking up after I finish Lord of Emperors is Into the Narrow Dark by Tad Williams. This is the third novel in his Last King of Austin Ard series. And this is another one, as I said earlier, I've been having so much fun with this series. And I love Tad Williams' writing. And I think he's actually even better in The Last King of Austin Ard, which is why it's an absolute tragedy that more people have not read The Last King of Austin Ard. It's crazy. Honestly, his first series in Austin Ard, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, is underrated, or whatever it is the kids say these days. I think it deserves a lot more love and attention. But this series, which is even better, is criminally appreciated. So yeah, I mean, this is great stuff. And we've been doing this series. I've been doing it along with my friend Nikhil and my other friends, Ben from Books with Genghis Khan and Andy Smith. And we've been having a great time, all of us, pretty much, with this series. So yeah, we'll be discussing Into the Narrow Dark, I believe on August 1st or 2nd. And that's going to be a live stream, I think. I think Nikhil is the one, if I remember correctly. I'm not 100% sure. The old noggin is that reliable, but I think it's going to be Nikhil hosting that on either August 1st or 2nd. And also we'll be discussing, I'm happy to say, we're getting back to The Wars of Light and Shadow by the incredible Janny Wurtz. And I actually read Trader's Knot quite some time ago, but we never did have our discussion on it. We being AP over at A Critical Dragon and Joanna. But that is going to be happening, and we'll be joined by Sylvia from Library Unbound. I think that is going to be a great time. So yeah, I'm so happy to be getting back into the Wars of Light and Shadow, beginning with Trader's Knot, and I may just skim it, reread it, or I may read some summaries, but I'll have to jar my memory because it has been a while since I read Trader's Knot. But I'm excited to talk about it and get further into, really, I think the last, this is book 7, so I'll have 8, 9, 10, and 11, and I hear so many great things about those last books, so can't wait to get there. Yeah, so wow, that's a lot going on. Other upcoming chats that I'll be having that I would love for you to check out. One is going to be a chat about Lit RPG with my friend Brian and a Critical Dragon, AP Canavan. AP has been kind of missing in action. He's been busy. He's been teaching and, earning money and living life and all that. So he's been a busy dragon. But he has been reading. He's been reading a whole ton of Lit RPG, actually. And he has thoughts. And I am no expert on Lit RPG, but I know one, and his name is Brian. And so basically, my role in this is to get AP and Brian together to discuss Lit RPG, and I'll probably throw in a few jokes here and there. I'll be the village idiot in that discussion, but I'm going to be there. So yeah, I do have some very limited. I mentioned Dungeon Crawler Carl, and I listened to Don't Die Dave as well by AR Witham, brilliant Lit RPG. And I've read a few others, mostly in my capacity as a judge for SPFBO. So I'm by far the least experienced when it comes to Lit RPG. So yeah, every conversation needs a dummy, I think, right? So I can play that role. So yes, there's that. And another chat that I'll be in, very excited about. Speaking of Tad Williams, my good friend P.L. Stewart, the author of the Drowned Kingdom Saga, had basically arranged to be in a discussion with Tad Williams and very graciously extended an invitation to me and to the others who are in our Last King of Austin Ard reading group. So, of course, that includes Nikhil and Ben. And I don't know about Andy if he's going to be there or not, but he was invited as well. But basically, we're going to be chatting with PL and Tad Williams over at PL's channel. That's going to be a live stream at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on July 19. That's a Sunday evening, at least here on the East Coast of the United States. Yeah, and you can always watch the replay. But yeah, we're going to talk with Tad Williams. How about that? I'm pretty excited myself because I've been loving his writing so much. I can't wait to tell him that. I'll also be in a Malazan chat. It's been a hot minute since I was in a Malazan chat, but I'm always game for one because Malazan is my favorite series of all time. And I will be doing a reread, by the way. Once I get all my Broken Binding books for the Malazan Book of the Fallen, I intend to do a reread. So that's something I hope to eventually plan in detail. Maybe get some people to join me as well. Yeah, that is upcoming. But in the meantime, I'm going to be having a Malazan chat with my friend John from Talking Story because he's finished book 3, Memories of Ice, and he wanted to have a chat with somebody. And I was like, sure, I'll chat with you about Malazan. Why not? I always love chatting with John. So that is going to be happening. And there are some Dear Dr. Fantasy episodes lined up. And I also will be participating once again. The last couple of years, I have been participating in TBR Con, and I'm delighted to say that this year I'll be on 2 panels, one as a moderator, and I'm blown away by the authors who are going to be on this panel. I'm a little intimidated, actually. Some of these authors are pretty famous and very accomplished, like award-winning authors. But little old me is going to be basically hosting, moderating that discussion, and I will be participating as a panelist in another one that will be hosted by my good friends John and Jacob from Talking Story. So there you go. That's me on YouTube, getting up to all my mischief and shenanigans. But I'm having a great time. I want to thank you all for all your support and for being here for me, for your comments, for watching, and all your interactions. But that is it for me for now. Until next time.